Hey cactus friends, it's Jenny from Cookie's Cacti. I know it's probably practically impossible, but do any of you recognize this plant? All it is a bunch of really cool spines and pretty much no soft tissue left. I know it's impossible to tell, but this was my favorite cactus seedling that I ever grew from seed, and it is one of my oldest Copiapoa called Lembeckii, Mesa Garden Catalog 85.71. This was my favorite Copiapoa weirdo. And as you can tell, it's not alive anymore. It died. And so it's actually already the end of August as I am filming this part of the video. This plant died probably a month or two ago. For those of you who have seen my video on my massive loss of Copiapoa seedlings around the beginning of summer, I was full of anxiety about losing this particular seedling. And then it happened a little while later. I think it took about a month and a half. I even brought it indoors, and that's when I started to see it die. And I have video footage of when I realized this plant was actually rotting, and I will play that footage in a little bit. But for those of you who are in this cactus hobby, do you have stories of when you lost your favorite plant? Did you just keep going? Did you let it get to you? What did you do? Obviously, I'm still going. And this is the only dead seedling that I've actually kept. Everything else that died, I just threw them out. This one I'm keeping around. I don't know why. Now, at first I was thinking about not posting this video because it's kind of depressing, but plant death is just as much a part of the entire cactus growing, keeping hobby as it is plants that are still alive. You see, there's still a lot of plants that are alive, but you'll also notice that there's a lot of empty space. And it's because a lot of my Copiapoa seedlings have died, and not just Copiapoa. I've lost astrophytum, I've lost saguaro, I've lost pretty much every single kind of cactus that I'm growing. Has succumbed to death because mostly of my mistakes, but that's just how it is. And you learn over time from your mistakes, hopefully, even though for me, I don't really have that much faith in learning from my mistakes. But you know, as many of these seedlings that have died, I've probably lost, oh my gosh, several dozen, 3-4 dozen Copiapoa seedlings during this summer. But there's just as many, if not more, that are still alive. So you just keep going. It was a little bit depressing going back to my footage of realizing that my favorite seedling was dying. But I don't know, this almost felt like a rite of passage in a way, that once I can get over this part, my highest anxiety of a plant that I was so afraid of losing, you know, what do? Just keep going. I'm quickly losing light as it's evening right now, but for those of you who saw my previous video on my yard makeover, and then I was talking about how I lost a lot, even more Copiapoa, well, even more died after that video. But here's the very confusing part. I had several, these are all Copiapoa humilis here. Well, a lot of, I think I lost 3 of the larger plants. But then, so why is this one flowering while the others were dying? There's another flower bud here. So some of them died and some of them are flowering. Is the flower a death response, like that it knows it's about to die and so it's going to flower? I have no idea. It's really confusing. I don't get it at all. But anyway, somebody left me a comment on that previous video saying that they actually find leaving the footage and recordings of losing plants to make the content actually more interesting. So at first I was not planning on posting this video about my favorite seedling dying, but after reading that, I was talking to my mom and she's like, why not then? Share it. Share the ups and share the downs. I'm going to go cut over to that footage now of realizing that my favorite seedling was on its way out. And I guess it'll be my dedication to our favorite Copiapoa weirdo. And then I'll probably just keep its corpse around in the greenhouse or the grow space as a reminder, but I'll probably end up just making the same mistakes anyway. I mean, what is this, right? It's a hobby. Right? We're supposed to try to have fun with it, although at some points in time it almost doesn't feel that fun sometimes, but it still is fun even when it's not. I can only give a big sigh. I don't know what to say. I think this might be the last footage of my favorite Copiapoa seedling that I have ever grown. And I think it's dying. I even brought it inside. You can see I'm under grow lights. That was all in hopes of trying to save some of my favorite seedlings because it's so hot outside in Arizona, and from my last video of killing many of my Copiapoa seedlings, this one was the one I wanted to save the most out of all of them, and I think my worst nightmare is about to come true. It's showing signs at the base of the plant. It's got a lot of give. I have a bunch of seedlings that are already dead, and they showed this same sign as the beginning of the rot and the death. And these seedlings are basically not salvageable through grafting because they're kind of already sick and dying, so they end up killing the graft stock. Honestly, this has been a source of anxiety for the past month or so. I'm kind of in shock in a way. I want to say that it's almost good to get the worst over, just to kind of get over that hurdle, but I'm feeling so defeated. Like that Copiapoa area in my pergola is now become a source of anxiety rather than joy. And gardening is supposed to be a source of joy and relaxation, not stress and anxiety. At least that's what I thought, but you know, I might be completely wrong. This soil medium is already completely dry because the other seedlings I have died and I dumped out. I saw that the soil is absolutely bone dry. So there is nothing I can do. So this is the last footage of my favorite seedling, you know, still looking alive, but in the process of dying. This is such a cool plant. I'm so sad. I was hoping we would have a long life together, but I, of course, overestimated my capabilities of keeping these guys alive. I'm only growing Copiapoa because they were easy to start, barely easy to grow, and all these years of, well, you know, 2 to 3 years of growing these, they were extremely resilient to transplanting, and I'm only growing so many of them because they were so easy. But now they're not so easy. I can't seem to get past that 2-year mark. So I don't know if I'm going to keep going with Copiapoa or not. If they cannot live in the Phoenix area beyond 2 to 3 years, then there's no point in growing them. I can't grow them indoors. I don't have enough space. This is the sound of defeat. I'm hoping it's temporary, but we will see. So that was the footage, the very sad footage of Jenny of Cookie's Cacti. Oh, there goes the neighbor's dogs. Realizing that my favorite Copiapoa seedling was dying. But we still have more Copiapoa seedlings to grow. So we'll just feel sad for a moment, and then we'll put ourselves back together and continue growing. Happy growing, y'all, in all the ups and the downs. Talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.